Hello, everyone. This is your host, Sanjeev Goyal. Every month, we invite one of our alum. This month, we have invited Pankaj Kedia. He is IIT Roorkee alum. He is a thought leader, maverick, and he has done some amazing work in AI and device. Let's talk to him and learn from him and really talk about his own journey from IIT Roorkee to United States and how he's able to not only teach AI, he's investor in AI, and he is helping so many companies today. He has helped, I believe, Pankaj, you're involved in like 200, 300 plus companies?
Yes, I've been involved in a few, yes.
Welcome to our show, Pankaj.
Thank you, Sanjeev. Thank you for having me. Hello, everyone. It's my delight to be here.
So, Pankaj, I have a very simple question for you. You have worked in America and India for more than 3 decades. A lot of amazing work you have done. But do you have a confession for our audience?
You know, my confession is we have been married for almost 3 decades, 32 years. And until COVID, we did not sleep in the same zip code.
Wow.
For more than 3 or 4 months in a year.
Wow.
So COVID has been a transformative experience, both on the professional side and on the personal side. So thank you for asking.
Wow, that's a big one, man. I don't know how it is going to be played, but that's okay. I'll leave it there. But I know you are traveling a lot. You're helping a lot of entrepreneurs, phenomenal entrepreneurs. So let's talk a little bit about your journey. Is there any interesting story or any story you would like to share from your IIT Roorkee days?
You know, I have worked on bringing laptops to market, bringing smartphones, bringing wearables. I've worked on connecting all of us. So perhaps the story I remember most at Roorkee is how I would connect with my family. I don't know if, Sanjeev, if you have been to Roorkee. It's a beautiful campus.
Yep.
And I'm class of 1988. So 84 through 88, we did not have cell phones. We did not have...
Very true. I remember that time.
Yeah, we did not have telephone instruments in our rooms, right? We would go to this one room at the center of the campus where we would book a trunk call.
Oh, God.
And, normally it would take maybe 12 to 24 hours to connect to my family in Jaipur. If it were urgent, I could pay 10 times more. And they would book what was called a lightning call. A lightning call, we would connect within 30 or 60 minutes. So anytime I wanted to reach my family in Jaipur, I would normally go for a trunk call. And the way it would work is we had runners. So a runner would have my schedule for the day. I would book the call. The runner would run, find me, take me to that room so I can take the call.
Really?
Because it was, because we were not sure exactly when the call would connect. There was, a certain uncertainty in the connection, right? So I grew up unconnected. I grew up learning about what I had to do to talk to my parents. And, right after Roorkee, I came to the US. And I distinctly remember all I was thinking about was, what can I do to change that game so you can connect with your friends and family instantaneously? And of course, so much has happened over the last 25 years, over the last 35 years, that, things have changed dramatically, as you know.
Yeah, it's hard to believe. And, almost a year ago, I had Sam Petroda and I was talking to him. And since you remember those trunk call, you remember Sam Petroda is one guy who completely changed from analog to digital. And
right.
that has transformed India. Even today, I look back and I thanked him, his contribution to all of us, because only this connectivity has made the change that all of us have access and all of us has opportunities to do anything we want. Internet, mobile phone has completely changed. That's a great story. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, no, so, I've been fortunate. I've been at the right time at the right place. I worked with laptops for about a decade, making laptops ubiquitous. And with laptops, we made Wi-Fi pervasive. I worked with smartphones and tablets. With smartphones and tablets, we made cellular pervasive and Bluetooth pervasive.
Yeah.
And over the last decade, I incubated the wearable business for Qualcomm. And in a wearable business, in a typical wearable, you have Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, 4G, 5G, GPS, NFC. Now satellite is beginning to show up. So bringing all of these connectivity things in the same device, it has been nothing short of a miracle. And, when I look back at the Roorkee days and how the trunk calling worked, it is amazing how far we have come.
Yeah, Pankaj, is hard to believe. You're right. My best memory of Roorkee is, by the way, the coffee. This most amazing coffee which these guys used to churn in the cafeteria. That was amazing experience.
Yeah, coffee and bun omelette.
Yes.
How can we forget the bun omelette?
Absolutely, absolutely. So fast forward, you came to US and you worked with some of the best companies on the planet. I mean, people will die to get into these companies. How was your experience and what message do you have for our alums who are in the schools even now and who are studying and they are trying to be ready for for their career? What advice can you give them so they can prepare themselves better?
Yeah. Think big. Think bold. Don't take no for an answer. Work on the next thing. So maybe I should share. From Roorkee, I came to the University of Michigan. I did my master's. Incidentally, my master's was in AI and systems engineering. AI was not sexy then. It is now. But, that's how I started in the US. My first 3 jobs were actually in AI groups. AI was very different then.
Sure.
AI was, expert systems. AI was rules-based. But I started my career as an AI person many, many years ago, 35 years ago. Then I decided to go to business school. I went to the University of Pennsylvania. And since graduating from Wharton, I've had 3 magnificent marathons. the first decade driving the growth of the internet with the laptop. You may recall, Sanjeev, we are similar age. The internet first started on the desktop PC. And so to access the internet, you had to go to your desk. You had to go to your den. You had to go to a place to access the internet. But we are mobile people. We don't like to sit around. So we changed from the desktop PC to the laptop PC. We unleashed the internet. Now you could access the internet wherever you were, wherever your lap was, right? It could be in a plane, it could be in a train, it could be at a Starbucks, it could be at the beach. So that was the first decade. When we started, 1 out of 13, 1 out of 14 PCs used to be a laptop. Laptops were expensive.
Yeah.
They were big and bulky. They were not for everyone. Today, 8 out of 10 PCs sold are laptops. We cannot imagine life without a laptop today.
Impossible.
Right. The next decade, the second decade, was IoT devices, smartphones, tablets. So many devices, the right device for you. And that made internet ubiquitous. With the mobile phone, with other kind of mobile devices. Now, you don't even have to sit down. You might be running a marathon or, running errands, and you're always connected.
Sure.
I can always reach you, right? Over the last decade, I had the honor to start the wearable business for Qualcomm.
Which is game changer technology.
Another game changer, right? My smartwatch knows who I am. She knows where I've been. She knows what I like, what I don't like. I use this to track my steps and my heart rate and many, many things, right? Going back to your question, always look for the next thing. Always look for what will change the game. And I've been lucky to have worked on internet, mobile, cloud over the last 3 decades. And they have been the 3 great technology revolutions of the past.
Pankaj, you and me are really lucky that we got to see our world change from analog to digital, and now from digital to, we are talking about quantum. It's just completely transformative. I'll tell you another story from my own life. I still remember in 93, I was working with the company just as an intern. And business today in India started email service. No internet. We're talking about email service in 93. And this company was a tech startup. They were working with the customers in US. So we had this person, she came to our office and spent 3 days in setting up our dial-up modem and email. 3 days just to set up email. So, and I still remember how excited we were to see the first email in our office. That was like a big thing, 93.
Yeah. No, I remember the 24K baud modem. I remember connecting to the internet through Prodigy and then AOL. And boy, so much has changed.
Yeah, the world has changed. So for LM, the only thing I would like to say, or the audience who are listening to this show, is the big message I got from Pankaj is think big, always be curious, look forward for what is happening, and do your best. But coming back to Best, Pankaj. For last decade, you have invested more on investing and mentoring entrepreneurs. You have seen a lot from evolution of healthcare. Even last 2 decades, health has completely changed, especially the wearables you're talking about. Healthcare is a major application of it. Even education is completely changing. And you are also a teacher. You are teaching AI. And it's fascinating. I have attended one of your class. I absolutely love it. What do you think of the future of AI? And I know it's a pretty broad question. So let's talk about teaching, because that's something you do. I know you're really passionate about it. Do you see the role of the teacher is going to change, or if teachers will be replaced with AI?
Yeah. So, Sanjeev, good question. Maybe let's talk about how AI is changing everything, and then talk about how it will have a profound impact in how we teach and how we learn, right?
Go for it.
So AI is actually not new. We can trace the roots of AI to the 1950s. My master's was in AI. My first jobs were in AI. Over the last maybe 15 or 20 years, we moved from expert systems to big data and ML. And many websites, whether it is Amazon or Netflix, whether it is TikTok or Uber, they have been learning about you and I. They have been serving content based on what we like, what we don't like, whatever friends like, whatever friends don't like. So AI has been ubiquitous, but it has been invisible. The storm has been brewing, but it is happening behind the scenes. When I was at Intel, when I was at Qualcomm, we integrated AI in different platforms. It was yet another capability in the platform. Now, with ChatGPT, AI has gotten the UX. It is almost as if ChatGPT has given AI the browser moment, the iPhone moment. So you and I, and all of us, we can interact with AI. Each one of us is becoming a creator. We are in the beginning of a creator revolution, right? This phase, this large language model based generative AI is impacting healthcare and education, agriculture and law, marketing and support, you name it. Every vertical is getting impacted. I was in India 4 weeks ago for the Inc. conference. And we were discussing how generative AI has the potential to change the game in India. India has become the most populous country with 1.4 billion, overtaking China. Imagine 1.4 billion creators. When I was going to IIT, actually, I went to University of Roorkee. It was not an IIT then. There were 5 IITs. Today, there are 23 IITs. Every year, 1.4 million engineers graduate from across different universities. Actually, there are 1,200 universities across India, including 23 IITs. They graduate 1.4 million students every year, right? So imagine 1.4 billion creators, 1.4 million engineers every year, 100,000 doctors every year. It has the potential to change everything. Going back to the question you asked about how it might change teaching and education, I would say education and healthcare will likely have the most transformative, the most disruptive change because of AI. If you think about education, it has not really changed for the last many decades. It's one to many. The books are written for the average person. The teacher is reciting from the book to the average person. But we know there is no such thing as an average student. Every student is different. They've had different upbringing. Every person has their strengths, their weaknesses. Every person likes to learn a certain way. With AI, instead of one to many, we can go to a personalized way of teaching. We can go to one-to-one tutoring. We can teach at the pace of the student, how he or she wants to learn. We can give tools to the teachers, make it easy for him or her to make the most of the situation with each person. So I believe education is at the cusp of getting disrupted. Over the last 10, 15 years, what you taught in the classroom went online. But how you teach didn't change. Instead of doing it in person, we have been doing the same thing online.
Yeah.
But because the content is online, now you can personalize it. You can target it. So I think that it is very exciting. Education will get disrupted. I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, so true. I mean, it's on one note, it kind of concerns me because I believe the ideas comes from collaboration. And we both understand the AI is again, it is trained. There are models, there is data behind it. And if we are digitizing the knowledge of one of these professors, and based on that, we are teaching the students how is it going to work and how the knowledge will be shared. And our ability to digest or understand or comprehend this knowledge is very different too from person to person. So it's a very unique challenge, but yeah, it has to change. And you are talking about decades. I think classroom hasn't changed in the last 500 years. It's still the damn same thing. I mean, it hasn't changed. Hard to believe that in 500 years, the world has changed, our work has changed. AI has transformed pretty much every single fabric of our life, but the education is still the same. So we need to change that.
Yeah. By the way, if you take anything to the extreme, it ain't good. So what I'm not saying is we go from classroom-like setting to pure one-to-one, because that would be a very lonely
place
experience, right? But you combine one-to-one tutoring with a classroom environment, with a team environment. I think then you get the best of both worlds.
So Pankaj, we just talked about learning and the changes with learning and AI. You are spending a lot of time. You're based in San Diego. It is the mecca for all the healthcare startups, and a lot of amazing work, especially around the uh, device is happening or wearables are happening. Can you talk a little bit about any of the interesting startup, any of the interesting thing you are working on, which will be helpful for our audience to understand what is possible, and possibly they will get some ideas what they can do currently when they are studying?
Yeah. Yeah. So Sanjeev, I left Qualcomm earlier this year, and I decided to pivot to working with startups full time. I'd been investing for the last few years. I got a taste of what it is like working with startup founders, and I wanted to do more of it. I've never met a founder who said, Pankaj, today I just want to chill. I don't want to change the world, right? A founder never said that. He or she always wants to change the world. And it is exhilarating to be collaborating with not one founder, not two founders, but many, many founders. And I get to do that as an investor, advisor, board member. So I've been seeing a lot of innovation. If you look at the healthcare space, pre-COVID, I would go to the doctor. The hospital would have $100,000 machines, $1 million machines. COVID accelerated this trend. Now, the doctor comes to me. The nurse comes to me. How do they come to me? Through my mobile phone, through my wearable. They have access to my records. They can measure my vitals any time of the day. They know what I'm doing, where I am. They know the full context. And they can be much more effective, much more efficient with their advice, with their guidance, with the cure. So I'll give you a few examples, a couple of examples. I have a sleeping insomnia problem. I have a difficult time sleeping. I'm working on so much stuff. I'm so excited. I'm always trying to do stuff. So what do you do when you're not able to sleep? Well, you can take a drug. You can take, say, melatonin. When you take melatonin, it goes through your entire body. If you take melatonin for a few days, every day, it becomes less effective. And because it goes through the entire body, it has side effects, right? So I'm working with this startup called Elimind Technologies. Elimind is using a wearable. It's basically a headband. And without getting into too much detail, it uses auditory signals to communicate with the brains, to communicate with the brain waves. So it is targeting, it is putting me to sleep. It does not have any side effects. And it does not get old. I can use it day in and day out. And I don't become immune to it.
That's a great innovation. That's so amazing innovation.
Yeah, if you're the doctor, you have access to how well I slept, what was my temperature, what was my heart rate, etc. And if something is abnormal, right? You can do something about it. There are many, many innovations like that, Sanjeev. I don't know where to begin. Another one is
How about some ideas for our audience? Something they want to do in healthcare space. Where do you suggest they should go look for the information or do their research probably, or get some ideas?
yeah. We are in the perfect storm. AI is changing rapidly. Sensors are changing rapidly. Devices that we wear, they are becoming increasingly smaller and lighter. Increasingly, they're becoming wearable with extended battery life and so on. And then software is advancing. If you bring these 3 or 4 trends together, that opens up a lot of possibility. I gave the example of sleep. But imagine, if you're a sports person, how well you train your body, how well you respond to, if something goes wrong. So there are so many possibilities at the nexus of these trends. And not just when we think about healthcare, generally healthcare is sick care, but also think about wellness, also think about things like meditation. There is so much innovation, so much opportunity to improve mental health, to improve how we live our day-to-day lives.
So Pankaj, we both are lived for a few decades in Silicon Valley. Of course, we learn from the best and understand how the technology works. I recently traveled to India, and you grew up in India too, and I was in a remote place in Rajasthan where the road network is not even there. So one thing I see everybody has is mobile phone. We are talking about telemedicine for the longest time in our life. I still don't see real. So the question I have for you is, or maybe a suggestion for our audience is, that is an area to be disrupted, especially in a country like India, where we have 1.4 billion people and we don't have enough doctors, we don't have enough trained nurses, we don't have enough trained staff. I believe India truly need a transformative healthcare strategy, and the government need to work and build something meaningful so we can change the lives of common person. I was just wondering if something happened to someone when I was there. It was like a few hundred of us for our event. There is no medical care nearby.
Yeah.
So in terms of all the different kind of device you have seen, have you seen some basic technologies which India can leverage today? For example, like a stethoscope which is connected with your mobile phone, or BP, or different MRI kind of thing. I don't know what is possible. I'm not technologically. I understand how the technology works, but there are ways I believe technology can do. In fact, I recently come across a opportunity for investing where they are using magnets instead of using ultrasounds or MRIs, magnets to understand and find what's wrong with your body, to almost creating the abdominal pictures to everything else. You may be seeing even more phenomenal technologies. So what's your take on that? To really transforming telemedicine, and where can somebody start on that journey?
Yeah, Sanjeev, you're exactly right. We have been talking about telemedicine and telehealth for the last maybe 20 years.
Yeah.
Mayo Clinic proved that telemedicine has a lot of benefit, but these benefits have not been realized not just in India, but even in the US, right? But that is changing. So COVID accelerated it. As I mentioned, instead of me going to the doctor, now the doctor comes to me. Incidentally, in the US, for every person, or for every 60 people, there is one doctor. In India, that ratio is for every 200 person, there is a doctor. So it's a third, right? And you're exactly right. Sometimes a lot has been written about this. So sometimes it takes multiple days for a person living in a village to get to the doctor. So telemedicine is the solution. Telemedicine can address access. Telemedicine combined with AI can make the things we are talking about accessible and affordable. Now imagine any kind of wearable device. It can be my stethoscope. It can be my thermometer. It can be the device to take my heart rate, my blood pressure, my ECG. Instantaneously, the doctor has access to my vitals, and he or she can propose some medical plan. So this is actually happening as we speak. It is happening in the US. It is happening in India. The advantage in India is literally we are leapfrogging. And so you don't have to worry about existing infrastructure. The leapfrog gives you a much bigger benefit. And there are multiple startup opportunities to accelerate this even further. So that's a very good point you're making.
Thank you, Pankaj. You have wealth of knowledge. I learned so much in last last 40 minutes of our conversation. For our audience, I would like to summarize a couple of things. Number one is what I learned today is think big. If you don't, you will not be able to solve the problems of the future. And that's what at least the world is looking at us, world is expecting that from us. So it's more of a responsibility for each one of you and each one of us. Number two is opportunities are everywhere. AI is transformative technology, but it seems like we're just getting started. There's so many problems it can solve. And two areas Pankaj specifically talked about it is healthcare and education. There are tremendous opportunities, specifically around telemedicine. And if you have a question, Pankaj, how can they reach you?
I have really enjoyed this, Sanjeev. Yes, I would welcome a discussion on anything we talked about. Best way to reach me is perhaps through LinkedIn. But you guys can also email me at pankaj@2468ventures.vc. So maybe we can publish the email. One thing I would add, Sanjeev, is just on the 2 points you made. The mobile phone was the modern mobile phone, iPhone and Android, these things were born in Silicon Valley. And then we exported them to India and every other place. The internet, again, same thing, was created in Silicon Valley. And then India adopted it after multiple years and so on. The cloud happened in Seattle with Amazon and Microsoft, and Silicon Valley with Google. And then the rest of the world adopted it. AI is very different. AI is happening in more than 50% of the countries around the world. AI is happening in India, it's happening in China, it's happening every other place. We don't have this excuse that AI will somehow get invented in Silicon Valley and then come to India, right? So the AI opportunity for India, in India, is significant. It can truly bring the many benefits we talked about. And personally, I would love to work with my friends from IIT to see what new trouble we can start. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Pankaj. I can't thank you enough for your time today. I really had a good time. I'm sure everybody will have a blast when they learn, and they can reach you through LinkedIn. And I really love your last point when you talk about literally AI. Maybe AI is a level playing field or democratization of innovation. And that's beautiful. So each one of you, when you're listening to the show, has an opportunity. Each one of you has potential to be the next Steve Jobs or Elon Musk. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to our show. Thank you, Pankaj.
Thank you, Sanjeev. Thank you, everyone.